What is up, everyone? Welcome to round 6, the semifinals of the November 2024 Portland Monthly Premodern Paper Magic Afternoons. These are the best of the best decks, so let's see who's going to play in those finals. First up, we have Alec returning with the same list, I believe, for the third month in a row, competing for that top spot. This is Green-White Terra Oath, and I really should ask him for a new photo because a lot of these cards have actually been updated to real ones. There's not that many proxies in here anymore. He just hasn't snapped a new photo for probably about 5-6 months. Anyways, if you're not familiar with this list or not familiar with the version that he plays, this is an Oath of Druids deck using Oath to go find Terravore. And in addition to those Oath of Druids triggers to get lands in the graveyard, it does also run 8 land destruction spells in 4 Wintergrasp, 4 Thermokarst. Also, of course, has a full playset of Wastelands and a full playset of Rashadan Ports. The deck also runs 4 Sphere Resistance to make it really hard on his opponent once he actually does start locking down the board. And it does have Mox Diamonds to ramp out his own things. All in all, a very strong list. There's a reason why he does continually make it to, at the very least, the semifinals every month. So without further ado, let's see who he's going to be playing against. Next up is David with Red-Black Draco Blast. Now this is a control shell deck that combos out with Erratic Explosion and Draco. If you're not familiar with Erratic Explosion, it is a 3-mana sorcery. Choose target creature or player, reveal cards from the top of your library until you reveal a non-land card. Erratic Explosion deals damage equal to that card's converted mana value to that creature or player. And of course, Draco is basically just in there for its mana value. It's a 16 mana artifact dragon that does get 2 cheaper for each basic land type you control. You're probably never casting this card. You're looking to just Erratic Explosion your opponent for 16 damage. How do you do that, you ask? Well, the easiest way would be Vampiric Tutor, but that's not legal in this format. So instead we have Sidious Dreams, which is a 4-mana instant. As an additional cost to cast the spell, discard X cards, search your library for X cards, then shuffle and put those cards on top in any order. So you're in Sidious Dreams for 2 to put Erratic Explosions and Draco and draw the Erratic Explosions to then go off. But it also can be a way to find that last bit of damage you need to win the game. There are 4 Lightning Bolts, 4 Plague Spears, which are also fantastic for dealing with small creatures, and the deck even runs a little bit of aggressive creatures in 1 Blazing Spectre and a couple of Mishra's Factories. So while the main shell may be very much control with lots of Terminates, Duresses, Cabal Therapies, and Ravenous Rats, there are a few ways to get a bit of damage across. Beyond that, sideboard is tacked what you would expect for a black and red deck. You got a Goblin Tinkerer, some Overloads, some Blood Moons, which is always cool to see, some Glooms, 3 Dystopias, 2 more Spinning Darknesses, and some amount of Pyroblasts and Red Elemental Blasts. Obviously, this has been doing really well, and it's really cool to see a combo deck like this in the semifinals. So without further ado, let's get into those games. And here we go. Alec is on the left, David is on the right. Now, I'm not sure if Alec is familiar with the deck David's playing, but he's not exactly teched to go against it right now. The best thing for him would be, of course, a turn 1 Sphere, or at least some sort of land destruction. Starting off with a Mox is, of course, always a great start for the deck, no matter what he's playing against. But it looks like both players are actually going to be mulliganing here. And I believe Alec is on the play, too. Now, David does have some creatures that will trigger the Oath of Druids. He has those Ravenous Rats that can, early on, be a bit of a trap. Of course, David knows what Alec is playing because Alec has played the same deck for probably 6 or 7 monthlies in a row now. And hasn't changed the actual 75 in probably about just as many. I think maybe he edited it once or twice before settling on the list he has now, which obviously has worked really well for him, having won 3 or 4 of these monthlies at this point. Okay, so both players with a new 7. Both players looking like they found a good 6. And Alec will lead us off with the Forest and pass. That one, of course, being one of the proxies that one of our locals, Joe, has done for the group. Every month he provides a proxy, and we are going to duress here. Ooh, there's a Sphere, and an Oath, and a Wintergrasp. All excellent targets, but I think you take the Sphere. The Wintergrasp is annoying, but the Sphere will consistently be pushing you down on mana. David does have some creatures in hand. That Plague Spitter. Actually, 2 Plague Spitters. He doesn't have to play those. He does have an Insidious Dreams as well, so potentially able to set up for the combo. And we are going to take the Orb here. Makes sense. It just slows everything way down. Allows Alec to better set up for his combo. Okay, tap in 2. There's an Oath. And pass. Play our Mishra's Factory and pass. Which is a great answer to Oath for sure. That Rashadan Port, though, is going to be a bit problematic. Oh, tap in 3 here. Okay, we are going to win his Grasp. The Swamp. Taking David off of colored mana. Well, there's a Dark Ritual. Now, he doesn't have a red source, so he could... Nope, we're just going to swing in for 2. I was wondering if there's a world where you Insidious Dreams for 3. Because he could do it. Okay, there's a Thermal Karst. Okay, there's a Bloodstained Mire. Can at least go find a black source if he chooses, but I'm gonna pass here. Unless he wants to animate. He could get another 2 damage in here. Alec is already at 16, which is the exact right amount that he needs. Okay, we are gonna fetch. No, we are animating, okay. But fetching to go get the mana source. Probably a swamp, I would guess. Yes, okay. I forgot to check in the deck photo, but I'm sure that David is running at least 1 mountain. Even though the majority of his deck is definitely heavy black. There are still bolts and, of course, the Erratic Explosion. Okay, Alec is gonna swing back here, getting in for 2. And then is gonna port on upkeep, tapping down the swamp. That is the Terra Oath plan, Mana Denial. We've already seen 2 lands blown up, and that port will continue to hamper David's mana.
I mean, I can always activate that.
Does not look like he drew a land. Or is he deciding if he wants to do... He might be deciding if he wants to Insidious Dreams here, actually. I believe he may have floated the black mana in response to the port. Because yes, you can Dark Ritual here, and then Insidious Dreams. You're looking at discarding 3. He does have a land, okay. So there is that red-black land. That does enter tapped, though, which could be problematic. Now, Erratic Explosion does cost 3 and is a sorcery. So I think you play out the tap land, Erratic Explosion for 2. No, you need to do it for 3. Well, this is tricky. Okay, we're just going to animate the Mishra's Factory instead. Yes, because next turn... Doesn't that enter tapped? I thought it did. Tainted Peak. It must be... Oh, if you don't control a swamp. That's right. It's the Tainted Cycle. I'm sure someone in the comments has already said, oh, of course it enters untapped. He's got a swamp. Yes. I forgot. I was mixing it up with... whatever the other one is. Anyways, Tainted Peak, very good card in a deck that is, again, primarily black, but does need that red splash. So in this instance, I think David can potentially go for it. Insidious Dreams, pitching 3, getting the Erratic Explosion and a land. Might be a little too premature. I think he needs to have 4 mana because something's getting ported. Okay, animating the Mishra's Factory. Oh, but he does have the Dark Ritual. Well, which he does need to cast the Erratic Explosion. Or the Insidious Dream, sorry. I'm getting the combo mixed up. I'm trying to get too far into David's head. We'll see what he wants to do.
Black, colorless, dark red,
Okay, we're going to Dark Ritual here.
insidious dream.
Cast the Insidious Dreams. Pitching 3, which are 3 Plague Bearers, or Plague Spitters. So this allows David to put 3 cards on top of his deck.
Alright, yeah, that happens.
What are we grabbing?
You take one from that?
I'd have to imagine 2 of them are Erratic Explosion and Draco. Looks like that's that. And then do we just grab... I'm not sure what the third card was. Maybe a land? Right, to fight through the port. And a red land at that, because Alec will most likely tap down the Tainted Peak.
Compare these to the version of these lands they just printed.
Yeah.
It's nuts. Because it's because they printed basically these, but it's like you get one of the colors automatically.
Oh,
and you
yeah,
get the
the
second if you have
birds.
either. Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't keep up with like the names of all the new dual land cycles. They don't. Is that what you want?
Yeah, we will see what the top card is, because I'm not entirely sure.
That was just
I'm not sure why David looked at that card. He has to shuffle it again.
backwards. Sorry. Not trying to be shady.
Maybe just out of habit or an accident. Anyways, tapping again.
Without
Okay, don't look at the top card. Putting these 3 on top, we see that Draco is at the bottom
They only go
with Insidious,
top of your library.
or with Erratic Explosion next up.
I'm sorry.
Okay, untap. Gonna tap down the Tainted Field, or Tainted Peak. Okay, so he did put a mountain.
Yeah, you spent 5 cards to just.
We are animating the factory here. Swinging for 2.
Pass to you.
And David holding up that card, not wanting it to get blown up potentially. Ooh, and I think he actually might have it here. Alec does have a swords, so he could swords his own guy to try and gain a little bit of life, but that's not going to be nearly enough. Especially if he swings in with one of them. Okay, animating
+1.
and pumping.
Attack for 3.
Hit you for 3. Say go, port down. Tainted. Yep. And then now David, having his mountain, can Erratic Explosion to reveal the Draco. And of course, the Draco just needs to get revealed. It doesn't enter play. So that is 16 damage, and we are going to game number 2. And here we are in game number 2. Always cool to see the combo deck do its thing. The real tricky part, though, is of course closing it out in game 2 after your opponent knows what you're up to. Now, Alec doesn't have a lot of ways of interacting with this combo. He did leave his swords in, which is interesting. Potentially as a way to gain life to survive the Draco Blast, because that is, of course, the primary way that David can deal damage. He did also see the 3 Plague Spitters that were discarded as well, so thinking maybe there's still a bit of a heavy creature element to this deck, which there is some. There is the 4 Plague Spitters, the 4 Rats, the 1 Hasty Hippie. I'm blanking on it. It's not Hypnotic Spectre, obviously, but it's the red and black 4-drop. So there are definitely some targets for the swords, and of course he can always swords his own Terravore to really stay alive if it ever comes to that. Okay, looks like Alec is going to be keeping David. We'll be mulliganing here. Makes sense. It's a combo deck. If you're not anywhere close to the combo, might as well ship it back. So especially knowing how dangerous Alec's starting hands can be, especially if he can turn 1 put out either some sort of land interaction like Rashad Import early on with a Mox, or even just a Sphere. A Sphere would be pretty backbreaking for this combo deck, especially since the deck doesn't really do too much until, at the very least, the very earliest, turn 3. Okay. See if we have a better starting 7 here, or I guess in this case 6. There's an erratic explosion, which... Oh, that actually might not be an explosion. That might be an overload. That's going to get put to the bottom. Okay, we have a Dark Ritual as well. And yeah, David is good to go. And Alex should lead us off here, I think, just deciding exactly what he wants to do. Doesn't look like he has a Mock Star, because that would be probably the first thing that happens. Okay, we're gonna Mishra's Factory. Oh, he does have the Mox. Okay. Pitching the Windswept Heath. And there's a Sylvan Library to kick things off. Not a bad way to start. Of course, red and black, notoriously bad for dealing with enchantments, so that is probably sticking around. I didn't really see a good way in David's sideboard for it. Alright, we're going to start off with a swamp here. Dark Ritual. Do a Dystopia. That actually would deal with it. Dystopia, I was totally forgetting, it not only hits white enchantments, but it also hits green enchantments. So having to sack the Sylvan Library to the Dystopia trigger. Now there is a cumulative upkeep of 1 life. And okay, looks like we're just animating the factory and your turn. Ooh, Alec not drawing another land. Really relying on that library to find him more land. This is potentially huge. Okay, Dystopia not sticking around. And it is green-white permanence. It's not just enchantments. So it does hit Terravor and the like. Okay, there's a land. 3 mana up. What do we got? We could just play out a Terravor. It is a 1/1. No, okay, we were playing Call of the Herd. So this most likely means the Oath plan is out? I don't know, he might still have some in. Not seeing a ton of creatures. Ooh, there's a Gloom. Gloom is an interesting one. I would like to hear David's reasoning, but it makes all white spells cost 3 more, and all activated abilities of white cards cost 3 more. So that Swords is probably not seen play anytime soon because it costs 4. But beyond that, I'm not exactly sure what else it hits. Okay. Got an Elephant coming in for 3. Tapping 3 more. There's a Terravor. It is a 2/2. That's not nothing. But yeah, the Gloom is an interesting call. I'm trying to think of what white cards David is afraid of in this matchup that affect his combo potential. Yeah, again, we'd love to hear from him. But, okay. Oh, there's a second Gloom. Wow. And there's a Dystopia. That actually is pretty good. So, it does affect all green and white permanents. So, Al can just sack... Oh, he actually is going to sack the Terravor. Okay. He could have sacked the elephant if he wanted to, but opting for a bit more damage at the start. Gonna animate the factory, swing for 5, and pass. Alright, having to pay 1 for Dystopia, down to 8. There's a Bolt. Bolt does just take care of the elephant, but why bother when Dystopia will do it for you? There's another Terravore. Alec might want to just take a pause here, just get some damage in with the factory, which will get bolted. And things look pretty good for David. That Wasteland is not going to do much. Alright, Dystopia hitting the bin. Not wanting to pay 2 life to keep it around. There's Terminate. That was a very good answer for that Terravore. I guess Enlightened Tutor, that is a good card in Alec's deck. Okay, we're just passing. And we're going to Winter's Grasp, hitting the mountain, and in response, Bolt you. And then, yeah. Getting some quick turns here. Finding a Bloodstained Mire is pretty big for David. Being able to keep the red mana open is huge. Okay, we are flashing back the Call of the Herd. And we are going to, terminate it there. Interesting. Okay. I mean, it is easy having a bit of a insider knowledge about what's in both players' hands. Blood Moons would be very backbreaking here. Good to see those in the sideboard. Shutting off all the Manlands, the Wastelands. Alec's deck not really able to do much with red mana.
You have 4 in hand? Yeah. That's not good. I need more hateful stuff.
Granted, he does have the Mox Diamond, so it's not like it's really hampering him that much on colors, but shutting off the Manlands is pretty big. Okay, untapping here. There's a Duress. What are we? We are casting another Gloom. Alright. Well, pretty sure that Enlightened Tutor is never getting cast. But how about a double library? Well, David now has double Duress. So what exactly? I believe these are in Italian. I don't think, unless Alex speaks Italian, he might. Okay, so what is in David's hand? Does he have 2 Duresses? And is that other one in Insidious Dreams? Looks like he's gonna pass. Doesn't have the mana to do anything about it. Looks like there's another Terravore and a Rishadan Port. Gonna put the Terravore to hand, it looks like. I think, yeah, seeing that this game could be bad if it goes long. Playing out a Terravore. How big is it? 5/5? Okay. That's a 2-turn threat. Okay, there's an Insidious Dreams. That can at very least go get a Terminate. If David could find the mana to cast it, which does not have. Oh, there's another library. Alex seeing all 4 of his libraries. But yeah, the sword's making the most sense here. The only thing that he could realistically cast, even though it costs 7, it could happen at some point. Alright, there's a Seal of Cleansing. Also, not bad, but against double Gloom. I don't know, maybe David's thinking is knowing that Alec brings in Seal of Cleansings to deal with his Mishra's factories. And nope, we're just going to go to game number 3. David not able to deal with the threats Alec has on board. Okay, here we are in game number 3. Always love to see it, especially in a semi-final match. David just not finding enough lands there, really. Having a few too many of them blown up to go find the combo. He had the Insidious Dreams, he had the cards to discard, he just needed one more land or a Dark Ritual to go off, and unfortunately that was just not in the cards. And again, looking a little land light in hand, so he's gonna shuffle that back for, I think, yeah, this is the 3rd time mulliganing this match, which is unfortunate. But again, like I said, I think in game 2, it is a combo deck. Oh, thank you for straightening that out. It is a combo deck, so it is gonna mulligan a little more aggressively than just a good mid-range deck, which is what I would say Terra Oath is. Terra Oath does have a combo, I guess, in having the Oath package, but really it's just a good mid-range deck with lots of good interaction and good threats. We don't know if Alec is keeping. I'm assuming he is, otherwise he would have just mulliganed here. So, David being on the play, getting the old LGS cut. See if we can get a good 6. This is the first time he's been on the play this match. And I didn't think yeah, there's not a single land in there. Oh no. Okay, we're going to 5. Not what you want to see. I'm sure Alex feeling pretty good about it, but definitely not what you want to see from David's side in game 3 of the semifinals. Now, he does have Dark Rituals to get back into it, but unless he naturally draws the 2... Well, he can't draw the Draco, actually. That would be bad. But unless he naturally draws the Erratic Explosion and Gloom, or not Gloom, Dark Ritual. What would be the ideal 5, I guess, if you had to perfectly draw it up? Swamp, Mountain, Dark Ritual, Erratic Explosion, Insidious Dreams? No, you wouldn't want the Erratic Explosion in hand. You'd want 2 Insidious Dreams for it, potentially. You have to have something to discard. That's the tricky part. For the Insidious Dreams, you need at least 1 to discard. But I guess you could wait 1 turn to go off. So maybe that would be the perfect 5. I don't know. Anyways, I see a lot of lands this time, so that's very good. Also, I'm noticing a little bit of a synergy that I don't think I called out in the deck tech. So, what does happen if you draw the Draco? Well, Insidious Dreams lets you discard it, and then you can put it back on the top of your deck with that layer. Blanking on what the card's called, but he has it in hand. It's a legendary land. Far right. Black and a colorless, put target creature card on top of your library. So that's how you do it. Okay, we're getting aggressive here. Again, 16 is the magic number for David's deck. Oop, getting a little sloppy with the card draw there, Alec. We got 2 mana, playing out the library, say go. There's a Dark Ritual. This is looking like a much better hand for David here. So he does have a few lands in hand. He does have the Gloom. He could play out the Gloom this turn if he wants. Is that what he wants to do, though? Okay, no, we're just going to be swinging in for 2. Might as well get down to 16 while you can. I think that's Volrath's Stronghold, if I'm reading it correctly. Surprisingly not what's getting blown up here. If I saw that across the table, I might be targeting it. But taking David off of any colored mana is also pretty good. Unfortunately, he does have a Sulphur Springs in hand. But yeah, Bull Rat Stronghold. I believe that's also depicting the same city from City of Traders, just from a different angle, which I never realized growing up. Someone pointed out to me a few years back, and it did blow my mind a little bit. Okay, we are playing out the Gloom this turn. Getting your opponent to 16. Everything's good. Play out the Gloom, make swords a little tougher to hit. Next turn, draw the Insidious Dreams, and everything will be alright. Oof. And there's a Thermokarst. And now David really needing a colored mana source. When there's a Gloom, that's not going to do it. Okay, we're just going to swing in for 2. Alec down to 11. He does have blockers. Ooh, there's the swords. There's an Oath. That swords could be relevant. He does have the 4 mana to pay the Gloom tax. Alright, putting the Oath on the bottom makes sense. There's a Brushland. Say go. Or are we getting in for damage? No, we're casting something? Yeah, okay, we're gonna just put out a 3/3. That makes sense. Constant blocker. There's a Bolt. That Bolt not able to do much because David does not have colored mana. And just has to pass. There's a Mox Diamond. We are putting the Mox Diamond to hand. Is there another land in Alec's hand? Does not look like it. Okay, we're just going to swing for 3. David down to now 16. Flashback. And this is going to be the Elephant Beats, I think, because, yeah, David does not have a good mana source here. He drew an Overload, which is not going to do much. There's Rashad and Port. That's also kind of brutal. All right, we're swinging for 6. And all of a sudden, this is a 3-turn clock for David. All right, offering the trade. It will get traded. And Alec could have ported down the factory if he wanted to in response to the activation, but decided to not. Must be feeling pretty confident about cards in hand. I mean, he does have 2 treetop villages where he can just start swinging in for 6 up to 9 actually if he really wanted to, but is going to leave port mana open. Pass to you. Port the swamp. Does David do anything in response? Looks like yes. Okay, we're going to Dark Ritual here. And Insidious Dreams. Okay, so he can discard up to 4 cards if he chooses. Looks like it's going to be just 3. What do you build your stack out of? Okay, pitching a Gloom, a Terminate, and an Overload. And I'm not sure what his last card in hand is. If it's a land, I think you get like a Sulphurous Springs and the 2 combo pieces. I think that makes sense.
But yeah, you should have 3 less life if I knew what I was doing. Slightly more silver.
Yeah, I definitely early on made a punt just for being so tired and like running around.
Or if he's got a Dark Ritual in hand. I don't know. There has to be some way to make that 3 mana through the port. And that's assuming that Alec doesn't have any other land destruction in hand or doesn't see any off of the library. Notably, he doesn't have a fetch land out, so he can't shuffle away. Interesting. Okay, Blood Moon spinning. Okay, so that can take care of the elephant spinning darkness. And I didn't catch what the second card was.
So like, can't be snuff out.
Alright, swords. Some kind of land. And the oath. That oath just constantly getting pushed to the bottom. Interesting. Tapping down the port mana, we're going for the win right here.
Activate. Go to combat.
Alright, swing with everything. Insidious Dreams. Removing the top 3 cards. Kill the elephant. Top 3 black cards in your graveyard. That is some nice tech.
We're gonna kill this.
So, David functionally just taking 3 here. Is still dead next turn.
Pass.
Okay, there's a mountain. Pass. Ooh, and then he bolts. One of them drops to 1. Oh, there's a Terravor, though. That's a problem. And then the Blood Moon takes care of the other one. This was such a nice plan, but that Terravor is going to make it very difficult. But David not giving up without a fight. There's the bolt. Drop to 1. And let's Blood Moon. All right. So,
That's the stabilization. That's the play.
Alec can
I mean, I'm at 1.
cast the Terravor. The Terravor is at least a 6/6, I think. I mean, it just needs to be a 1/1, and it'll be plenty. But bigger is definitely better.
Box diamond. Discard.
Okay, pitching a... Oh, he has the Naturalize. I was trying to figure out what that is. Naturalize the Blood Moon, swinging for the win, and that is going to be game number 3. Alec takes it down. I thought that card was a land when he picked it up, but no, it was the perfect answer. Oh my god, that was a little nuts. David, nice try. That was a solid plan. That Terravor would have definitely made things tough, but you definitely pulled off what I thought was going to be an impossible last couple of turns. All right, thanks to everyone for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe if you want to see more videos like this. That is the best way to support the channel. Subscribing lets YouTube know that I make, well, good things that people like to watch. And I know a lot of you are not subscribed, so the more of you that do, the better it is for making more videos. There's of course a Patreon link in the video description as well if you want to go that extra step and financially support the channel. That money goes towards travel expenses and gear upgrades and just helps me make more pre-modern videos. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you next time.